Hey everybody, I'm Alex Rifkin. I'm the founder of Rho Labs, the developer of Rho Protocol. Rho Protocol is the first non-custodial rates market on DeFi. Today we're going to record a short guide for a new user of Rho Protocol. We'll go through all the basic operations from starting up, opening the app, connecting your wallet, and all the way up to making the first trade and managing your margin. Before we go into that, I would like to remind everyone that interest rate derivatives are the instruments we're trading as all the derivatives. These are complex financial products, and it's important to know what you're trading when you're trading complex financial products. So I would encourage everyone to do their own homework and go through, for example, our documents and generally study trading rates before deciding to trade on Rho. You will be trading on Rho at risk of losing some money and potentially losing your principal. Nevertheless, I would recommend looking at the upside of trading rates as well. We feel that rates in crypto and rates in DeFi is probably the most exciting asset class coming up. And I think there is a lot of upside for people who know what they're doing and do their own homework. Now that we're done with that, I would like to go through the basic flow of the application, which will be equally useful for people who are expert at DeFi trading, on-chain operations, and those who wouldn't be that well versed with it. So let's start from the first steps on the app. So for starters, I will open our app. You can go on app.ro.trading. This is how you access your app. And the first screen you're going to see is our trading interface. This is Rho Exchange for you. I'll go through the screen element by element just to talk about what all of them represent to help you find your bearings when you see it for the first time. So the biggest component of the screen is obviously the chart. As you can see, we're looking at a particular market. I will explain what market is that, but just a heads up, this is a Binance BTC USDT per funding rate. We'll go through specifics of the rate later. You can see that the rate fluctuates quite a bit. And for example, this is an hourly chart. If you look at the chart, for example, with like 4-hour candles, you will see that the rate has been at around about 9.5% just a few days ago on the 21st of March. I'm recording this video on the 28th of March, and now it's at about 12%. If you look at the daily chart, you could see even deeper fluctuations down to 8% or so. This is actually very decent volatility for the rate. And if you also look at the floating rate charts, and we will later look at some other maturities, but if you look at the floating rate chart, and I will explain what the difference is between the floating and the fixed rate, you'll see that it's far more volatile. We will go through the specifics, and I will explain why the floating rate is way more volatile than the fixed rate that you see on the candles on the screen a little bit later. If you want to see the floating rate, though, there is a toggle on the chart, and you can overlay one against the other, and that will help you to take your trading decisions, as you will see later. Now, let me switch back to hourly candles, because they will give us a little bit more information. Going through the top bar here, so we're currently on the trade screen. The first thing you see on the left is the set of markets, the drop down with the set of markets you can currently trade. Note that this is a mainnet application. There is also a testnet version of the application. You can switch between the two, and the markets will differ. On the testnet market, obviously, you're trading with testnet assets, so you're not taking any real financial risk. So for a lot of traders who do not feel as comfortable trading with a new asset class, that's probably a good place to start before actually depositing real money on the mainnet. If you go on the testnet, if you open this drop down here, you can see the set of markets. So the first couple of elements, as will hopefully be most noticeable, is this one here. This is the name of the market. This is the name of the rate which is being traded. And under this little tree here, you can see different maturities. We will go through the maturities and all the parameters of the instrument later, but basically the starting point is if you want to know what you're trading, which instrument you're going to be trading. So now you're looking at the BTC USDT perpetual future funding rate for Binance. There will be more exchanges and even more instruments and more families of instruments that we will deploy on Rho later on. But for starters, I think it's a good starting point for us to familiarize ourselves with the instruments and the market. So if you look at this, you see at least three maturities under this BTC USDT perpetual future. There is another one for Ethereum USDT perpetual future funding rate. Uh, Again, the only difference is that we'll be looking at a different perp rate on Binance, but the mechanics are going to be exactly the same. So I'll focus on the BTC one for the time being, just to explain the dynamics. The rate that you see here is the latest rate observed on our market. This is not the rate you see on Binance, and we will talk about where is the rate that you can currently see on Binance. And you can also see the 24-hour change of that rate. So right now, for example, we can see that the June 24 expiry instrument is currently trading at 11.2%, having dropped by 22 basis points over the course of the last 24 hours. You can also see the indication how much margin I got deposited on this particular market. And notice that this margin will be used for all of the maturities within that market. So if you want to trade this particular risk, for example, we'll go through the use cases later, but let's say you want to start from, you have a position in BTC perps on Binance and you want to hedge that position, or you have a view that the rates are going to go in one or the other direction, specifically for Bitcoin perps. For example, some ETF announcement is expected or something similarly significant, which can send the futures rate flying. So that's basically the rate you want to trade. You need to deposit the collateral once here, and you could trade any of these maturities. There will even be some capital efficiency gains if you trade multiple futures within multiple instruments within the same market, which we will probably not cover in today's video. That's a little bit more advanced. But just bear in mind that there is a cross-margining, basic principles of cross-margining between different terms within the same risk. So now let's imagine we stick to the market that we have right now. Also, you can see a little icon here, basically shows you the maximum leverage which is allowable in this market. So we probably, again, wouldn't touch on that today, but different maturities present different levels of risk and also different potential rewards. So if you look at the May instrument, that the currently supported leverage is up to 100x, which is obviously very high, right? We can also talk about how it is actually high, but not as high as you think it is, because the margining and the leverage in rates works slightly differently to some other instruments. You can find some more information on that in our documentation on docs.pro.trading, and we will probably have another video and another set of articles about it recorded as well. But for the time being, you can see that the main instrument allows you to go almost 100x up in leverage. And for the September instrument, the longer maturity only allows you 20x. There are good reasons for that. There is also different impact of the dynamics of the underlying rate that the underlying rate will have on the value of your position of the same size in different instruments, which is something important to understand. For now, just stick to that. You've got high leverage on shorter term instruments, and there is a good reason for that. If I go for the June instrument, again, I'm recording this video on the May 28th. We're allowing you up to 90x leverage today to trade that instrument, which is quite high. And I'm going to stick to that for the time being. Now, other elements on the top bar, the first thing and the most important thing is probably the current rate that you observe in our market. So that's the 11.2 that you saw in the drop down. That's the current rate. That's like similar to the latest price of Bitcoin if you trade Bitcoin on Binance or anything else similar. Only instead of dollars, we're trading percents. Otherwise, it's basically the same idea. This is your current rate. You can see it as an APR, as something we're all used to. So this is your annualized, representative annualized rate. Or because this is a funding rate, we're kind of more used to seeing them in a form of 0.01 basis point per 8 hour kind of thing, because that's how the exchanges report them. So you can use that too. And you can see that the current rate is 0.01% here as well. I'm going through the rest of the bar on top. So this is the 24-hour change. Again, you've seen this 22 basis points drop. You got the low of the past 24 hours, you got the high of the past 24 hours, and you got the resulting kind of 24-hour window shift over here. So there's been quite a bit of volatility, even though we eventually ended up with the relatively small change of 22 basis points. There is a time to maturity ticker, so there is just over 30 days left till this instrument matures at the end of June. Note that you can also see the day on which the instrument matures over here. This is 28th of June 2024. For another instrument, for example, September 2024, we are looking at the maturity on 27th of September 24. That's the last Friday of the month. That's typically when the monthly and quarterly futures mature. So we follow the same convention. If, for example, you want to stay in position for over the weekend when the previous future has been matured, you can always roll into the next future for the next month, but that's probably for another video. And finally, you got the floating rate, which is currently observed on Binance, right? So you can see this 10.95. This is an equivalent of 0.01% that you typically observe unless the market fluctuates quite a bit. And that's what you currently see on Binance, which is suggested by this icon over here. So once we're going to have other exchanges, you will see the icon of the respective exchange or any other source. That completes the top bar. Basically, that element will give you a pretty good idea of what's going on with the market, what is the market, what are the current fixed and floating rates, and what is the time to maturity and the rest. On the chart, we already touched on that. You can overlay the floating rate, which currently would sit at 10.95%. I wouldn't be doing that again now, or actually, let me do it again, just for the sake of it. So you can see there was a spike in the floating rate, and our rate kind of followed the same pattern, but then started cooling off a little bit before the drop on the actual exchange. So on average, you got a slightly higher rate, but it doesn't follow the spikes with the same kind of sharpness, which also protects you as a trader from some flash crashes and other things that can negatively affect you. Going back to the interface, the next thing here is the trade request. So the trade request form is basically what you use when you want to place the trade. We will use it now when I'm going to be placing the trade. You will see how it works. And lastly, there is this instrument at the bottom that is a panel that holds your open positions, trade history, your margin, and some other things, which I will go through a little bit later when we have an actual position open, so I can show you how these mechanics work.